Alright, hello there, and welcome to another Starfield video. So this is my first video back post power being back at internet, and also I'm no longer sick, so my voice, well, saying that, I'm probably still a little bit sick. But yeah, so today, as the title kind of insinuates, we're going to be talking about Starfield, comparing it to other Bethesda titles, mainly Fallout 4 and Skyrim, and kind of talk about, well, I suppose the lack of kind of, like, I don't want to say cinematic scenes, because like Starfield and Bethesda games in general don't really have cinematic scenes, but they definitely have certain elements where something happens and it kind of draws the player in, and it's kind of like, holy crap. Like an example, which I'll kind of use, is the first time you kind of come across a dragon in Skyrim, like that initial kind of, the Alduin landing and kind of, using his the Thum, and like stuff like that, like it captures the player, and it kind of immerses you in this kind of like story, like obviously not the setting, the story specifically. And Fallout also kind of does it in that you have, like, for instance, I think one of the probably, if not the coolest cinematic set pieces of all of Bethesda, and probably, I would put it up there with like some of the Mass Effect cutscenes, is when the Pridwin and the Brotherhood of Steel first appear in Fallout 4. Like, that is, it's very iconic, and again, it's telling a story. It's kind of immersing the player, not just in the like the kind of the world space, like I said again, but in like the setup, like what it's trying to tell. Like, like I feel like when you're trying to tell a story, specifically in a game, because it's not like a book or a movie where the point of view is forced to a specific thing. It's a lot harder to kind of tell a story, especially in an open world role playing game. Like, you look at games like, say, Halo, and even to an extent like maybe Mass Effect, where you as the player, you're kind of driven down a specific road, and you can look left and you can look right, but for the most part, they're telling you, what's going on. Okay, you go past here, this happens. You go past there, that happens. With open world role playing games, I feel like it's a lot harder to tell specific stories and kind of introduce the player to certain elements. But Bethesda, now, not always, I will say not always, but they all, I feel like if you look back at each game, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on kind of what are some cool either story set pieces or cinematic set pieces that Bethesda have done. Like, for me, I think one of the coolest, God damn it, Cora. For me, one of the coolest ones, and we'll start, I suppose, Fallout 3, is when you first meet the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, I missed this many times because when I was a young boy, I just wasn't really familiar with how map markers worked. And I basically just swam the whole, it was the Potomac River, I think. I just swam to Rivet City, and I completely missed out on meeting the Brotherhood of Steel. But when I finally did, that set piece where you basically come out from the subway, and the Brotherhood of Steel are fighting the super mutants, and then the super mutant behemoth comes out of nowhere, and you're supposed to run over and grab the mini nuke and shoot it. Like, it's a really, really cool kind of scene. Obviously, we've talked about Fallout 4, and we've talked about Skyrim, and let's go to Starfield. Starfield, it has a kind of, I suppose, a few set pieces. I think realistically the only, and again, I may be misremembering, like, I've played a lot of Starfield, but sometimes my memory's hazy. The one kind of, I suppose, set piece that I think when I think of Starfield is the first time you meet the Terramorph. Like, Bethesda does an absolutely amazing job of setting up this cinematic kind of scene, or not really. Cinematic's probably not the right word, because like it's not technically, I don't know, somebody might be able to explain to me, because I know when I think of cinematics, I think of like Halo cinematics, like Halo, the kind of the little kind of clips that play between the missions and stuff, but that might not be the right word. But just like the kind of how they set the scene, you land, you hear the roar, you hear Hadrian, like, what are you doing here? Get in here. The kind of your heart races as you're like trying to figure out what's out there. What is she so afraid of? and they did a really good job. And honestly, I think that that's probably, from a kind of a horror setting, it's definitely up there. Like I would say it's probably the best horror setting kind of scene, kind of storytelling that Bethesda have done. Now, obviously, we've done the Dunwich building in Fallout 3. In Fallout 4, there's Salem. I'm trying to think. Skyrim doesn't. I mean, Skyrim always has a kind of a dark kind of horror to it, and Elder Scrolls in general. I don't know if there's any, but prior to, not prior, post the Vanguard quest, there's no real kind of sense of like holy crap. Like there's no like, to my knowledge, like, even because this is something I've talked a little bit about in streams and stuff, and I think so in Fallout and Elder Scrolls, there's certain things that make the player feel properly alive and in the world, and one of them is the cinematic cameras, like the kill cams. It always feels really cool in like Skyrim, where you kind of get to see your character, taking people's heads off, stuff like that. And in Fallout, you have like the kind of the kill animations. You have like the ones where you can, like, I remember the you could go around suplexing people in Skyrim, and also in Fallout 4, and stuff like that. And that lacking in Starfield, it's definitely a weird one to me. Like, when you like look at, like, I adore Starfield. I think Starfield personally is my favorite Bethesda title. And I know you're probably like, Crimson, what the hell, man? And I'm, to be honest, fair, because like, compared to Fallout, which is already established, and Elder Scrolls is already established, Starfield is tiny. I'm hoping in time it'll expand on the lore and stuff, but I've always been a big fan of the sci-fi setting and stuff like that. But I do think like that, lacking that sort of like the immersion of it, like, because the game has some immersive features, but obviously when I'm talking about immersion, the immersion I'm talking about is like I've said multiple times, the kind of the cinematic storytelling, the scene. Bethesda do a good job of kind of trying to kind of tell like story through the scenes. Like Shattered Space kind of showcase that, like, that they can do good storytelling scene wise. They've never been, I mean, I don't think I would offend anyone by saying Bethesda, I don't think would ever win any awards for their main storyline. Like, I think Bethesda's main stories in games has always just been a kind of a driving point to get the player to explore the map. And then as they explore the map, they come across the scene storytelling, the side quest storytelling, which is where Bethesda really shines. But yeah, it's with going back to kind of what we were saying, it's something that I hope that going forward Bethesda will try and incorporate more. Just kind of like these, like, kind of like domino pieces that fall together to kind of make the game feel more like badass, and kind of like holy crap moments. Like, even like one of the moments I remember, this goes back to the kind of the kill animations. I remember, I want to say, is it in Fallout 4, where there's like several situations where you come across NPCs doing kind of crazy things. I feel like, now again, I may be misremembering, because I know that there's two instances, but I'm pretty sure when you first meet the Courser and you're trying to shut him down, isn't there like a kind of a semi-cinematic kind of where he's basically kicking the crap out of everybody? I think that's it. If not, I'm misremembering, but I do know that there's a few situations like that where, like, you see another character do something very cool and you're like, holy crap, that's really, really cool. Like, you see an example, I think one of the coolest things about, like, in Skyrim, when it goes to kind of the cinematic, is the dragon kills. Like, some of the kill animations for the dragons are absolutely insane. And obviously, when you compare Starfield to, like, Elder Scrolls, right? Like, Skyrim, for instance, the dragons are the main conveyance of the kind of the scene setting, the impending doom. Alduin the World Eater is literally trying to eat the world. So you have these, like, awesome set pieces with these dragons that can appear at random intervals, like the attack, for instance, on the Windhelm, when not the attack, when you call in the dragon, you call in Odahviing, and you fight him. And we do kind of see some of that again. The Vanguard quest line does something similar. Like, I remember when I was doing the, when you go back and you go to tell the council about the Terramorph outbreak, the shutters come down and you have the alarm blaring, and it's like, it's like, what's going on? Someone comes in, a guard comes in, they're like, oh, it's the starport, there's been an attack, Terramorphs. And you kind of go down there and stuff, and it's like, it's awesome, but outside of that quest, it's just kind of non-existent. And I do wonder, like, why that is. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I'm always a goody two shoes in games. So, like, out of all of the kind of the factions I played, I like the UC. I thought that the Freestar Collective one was kind of, it was all right. I don't really remember there being any oh crap moments with the Freestar Collective. Ryujin was kind of Ryujin's Ryujin. Some people obviously would like it. I think the lore side of Ryujin is very cool if you like that kind of cyberpunky kind of megacorp kind of thing. Crimson Fleet had in my opinion, it definitely had it had the potential to be a very, really cool quest line, but because they kind of like, it feels like with the Crimson Fleet quest line, they only really kind of did one side. Like, you're kind of, if you want to experience the best of it, you kind of have to play as the pirates. Like, the SysDef side was just very subpar, Like, the Crimson Fleet quest line added so many different characters that were all really cool and unique. The to my knowledge, the SysDef only has Toph, Commander, and is it Alex Vong? I think it is. Like, 3 characters that realistically, like, you could skip over Alex Vong. I think it's Alex Vong, because he's just kind of a side NPC that doesn't really do anything. But yeah, it's interesting because it always kind of comes back to, like, again, looking at, like, the different games, because, like, Starfield has done a lot, like, right, like, it has done some amazing stuff, like the shipbuilding, the ships in general, vehicles, the jump pack. Like, I've said this so many times in the past, but, like, imagine going back to the time of, like, say the time of, like, Skyrim, where horses were the best you could get, and telling someone in 10 or so years time, Bethesda's going to put out a game where you can drive around cars on planets and you can customize spaceships and fly them. People are like, what are you smoking? Get off your skooma. But it's something they did, and they did well, but at the other end of kind of the spectrum, it's like they add all these cool things, but there's like certain elements missing, and obviously the one we're talking about today is mainly the cinematic elements and stuff. But yeah, like, what do you guys think? Like, obviously, Starfield obviously adds a lot of cool things to the game, but I suppose this is the thing with modern gaming and stuff. Like, whenever you make a game, because game, like, development is more tedious, more strenuous, games are more demanding, you kind of have to sacrifice certain elements. Like, I remember one of the biggest things going from Halo 4 or Halo 5 to Halo Infinite. This is slightly off topic, but Halo 5, you had assassinations. Halo, I think, Reach added assassinations, which, for anyone not familiar with Halo, it was a really cool way you could go behind someone and you could hold the melee button and you could do these really cool assassinations where, like, you dig your knife into them or you'd, like, snap their spine. And Halo 5 kind of added, like, a variety of them. Like, there was crazy ones. Like, there was wrestling style one. There was, like, one where you, like, stick someone with a sticky grenade. It's like basically a sticky explosive device, and you grab them by the leg and spin them and fling them, and it looked so funny. Excuse me, still coughing. But Halo Infinite comes out and they sacrificed it, and they said that they sacrificed it because they needed to prioritize other things. Now, that was years ago and we still don't have it. So with regards to Starfield, like, again, I'm assuming they sacrifice certain things. But I suppose I'll pose this to you guys. Again, I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but this is a topic that I'm very interested to kind of see what other people think about it, because it's, obviously I'm only kind of looking at it from my point of view, but what are some things that you, like, kind of wish Bethesda hadn't have sacrificed? Or what are some things that you're kind of okay with them have sacrificed? Like, to be honest, like, I suppose one of the things I'm kind of okay with them getting rid of, it's been like, because Bethesda kind of add them and lose them and add them is a weapon conditioning. I've never, I don't mind weapon conditioning in a kind of a survival game setting, but I feel like in a single player game, weapon conditioning and armor conditioning is kind of annoying. It's a bit yeah. Um, I will say the one of the things I do miss, and see, the thing is Fallout 4 was the first one to add it, the kind of the armor customization and stuff. You could, you get skins and stuff. There wasn't a whole lot, but there was some. And then obviously 76 added a large amount of skins, and obviously that's because it's a kind of a multiplayer game. And Starfield kind of kept the workbench system. And there's clearly skins in the game, but I think it's more Bethesda was kind of implementing them like there for like when modders or when Bethesda occasionally add them, which I feel like it's a bit of a it's kind of a bit annoying in that regard, because it's like I would have rather Bethesda just left out skins at all, so that and then focused on kind of, because that's usually how it is. It's kind of like if you look at Fallout 4 versus Fallout 3 in New Vegas. Fallout 4 opted for more modular weapons, so you had less weapons, but the weapons could be customized more. And while I thought that was quite cool, personally, I was always more of a fan of Fallout 3 style, where you couldn't really customize the weapons at all. I mean, Fallout New Vegas kind of did kind of a best of both worlds, where uniques felt unique. That's another thing with Starfield. I feel like they sacrificed. We have a lot of weapons, and we do have a lot of weapons. Like, I don't know just off the top of my head, but I feel like we probably have more weapons. Now, I could be wrong because it's been a while. I feel like we have more weapons in Starfield than we do have in Fallout, but we do lack the uniques actually feeling unique, and Fallout 4 had the same issue. Like, I remember in Fallout 3 there was like unique armor, unique weapons, and they actually would feel unique. They shot differently, they look differently. Like in this game, there's a couple of unique weapons in the game that actually look different, but most of them are just kind of legendaries. That's the other thing. The legendary system, it's a cool system. It's a system that I think fits into again, like the Fallout 76, the Destiny games like that, where you're chasing a grind. I don't personally think it fits in Starfield, and thankfully we have mods that can alleviate that. We have the McLaren's paid mod, and we have the Legendary Recycler that do a kind of a good job of alleviating that. You shouldn't have to in a single player game. You shouldn't have to spend like hundreds of hours chasing that specific loot. Like if there is like, and to be fair, some games they do that. Like if you're gonna be like, well, Crimson, what about Dark Souls? And that's fair. I'm not against like Bethesda putting like like really hard to get weapons in the game. Like you could chase them, but I do think that it should be something that it's this kind of thing a lot of games are doing now, where they're kind of, it's like either they're drip feeding you content or they're kind of overinflating the time it takes to get things to try and draw up the kind of play time. And I honestly don't think Bethesda, I don't think Bethesda actually does that with their stuff. I think the legendary stuff is something that they added in Fallout 4 and then they expanded upon in 76. And I think it's cool. I do hope that when the next title comes out, either Fallout 5 or Elder Scrolls 6, that they do kind of refine it a little bit. I know with Elder Scrolls we've got the enchanting system, and personally I think that I'd love to see the enchanting system kind of converted to Fallout style, and even to Starfield. Like there is the Legendary Recycler kind of does that, and then McLaren's Outfitters also does a good job of it. But again, the thing with this, and it's something I will always say, mods are definitely awesome, but I feel like the base foundation has to be all there first. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously a bit of a ramble here, but I like doing these videos just because I like kind of voicing my opinion and then kind of hearing what you guys think and stuff. But yeah, let me know what you guys think regarding the set pieces and stuff. Like, what are some things that, like in Fallout, previous Fallouts or previous Elder Scrolls, or even games in general, like cool kind of scene telling that you think was awesome. And then obviously what are some things, like I really think that Bethesda could have did better with the kind of the space sort of stuff. There's been other games that have did a really good job, especially the first time, of kind of doing the kind of, oh, you're in space, like going to space should be like a massive thing, like a huge achievement. but like in game, it's just kind of like, oh, it's okay, you're here, cool, you know. And also, obviously, like we're talking about other things. What are like some things that Bethesda have kind of, they've added into Starfield that previous Bethesda titles didn't have, and what are some things that Bethesda have kind of taken away from? But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you guys have a good day, evening. Also, if anybody mentions why I'm standing behind here, don't make jokes about me being Irish and owning a bar. I just like to mix it up, and yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and catch you in the next one. Bye bye.